Hi, everybody. Today's Thursday, September 11th, 2025, and our friend Andrei Martyanov is back with us. Welcome back, Andrei.
My pleasure.
Andrei, let me start with what Maria Zakharova said about the situation between Belarus and Poland. It seems that Belarus is trying to close the border, and
Mhm.
Russia is somehow warning them about the consequences of that. How, what has happened, in your opinion, with the case of drones, and what has turned to some sort of political turmoil? What was that, in your opinion?
False flag. It's pretty much a reeks of it. I mean, mile away, and and when you look at the Gerberas and things like that, even the Russian defense minister stated, I mean, they don't have range to go in. So it was the listen. Poland is facing an economic calamity. While Ukraine, we know what is happening, and so they need war. And they will try to do anything they can possibly do, to do something. And don't forget, those people for in their desire to stay in power, be that Zelensky regime, obviously, or even in Poland, they need, there are no any more grants or privilege loans coming from European Union. It's over. I mean, it's done. It was, decided when the Poland was being prepared and made up as the facade, so to speak, front glass, of the post-communist, so to speak, world. It's gone. And so what do? They know what happens now. They understand the war is lost. It was lost in 2023 completely. It's just that because considering the lack of intellectual level of those people, and Sikorsky is imbecile, for example. Okay, well, he is married to this Anne Applebaum. She is a rabid Russophobe and moron, essentially. And so it goes Tusk, and all those people. They need to stay in power. They need to attract attention for some reason. So what are they going to do? Did you see this Gerber drone put on the chicken coop in Poland, which is physically impossible? So most likely what happened, no, it doesn't mean that some drone cannot accidentally, fly in. The problem is, of course, that Gerberas are used primarily as decoys. They don't carry explosives. So, and most likely they were taken by Ukrainians and delivered to Poland. And they played this baloney kabuki theater, and Russians laugh at it, So if Poland would have been really, the target of Russian attack, uh, there would be no Polish government today in existence. Okay, so let's put it this way. But again, it's primarily for hoi polloi and Poles. I mean, there are many good, decent, good people in Poland. Make no mistake. So, but Poles they hate Russians. Okay, I mean, large percentage of the population. They are easily manipulated. And so that's what it is. Per Ukraine, yes, Zelensky regime to survive, and including his curators from this dumpster in London, they also need some kind of action, So they need especially being absolutely terrified by what is happening on the separate economic track between Russia and United States. And they are absolutely terrified of it. Europeans, being the cuckolds, those people have no any kind of honor or integrity, and they do not want to fight for themselves. They want United States to stay in Europe. And average European, average. I'm not saying there are many, again, many decent people, in Europe. I do not want to do the broad brush, but take average European. You can sell him any kind cornucopia of the BS. Like Russians eat children, they will come and rape your wife, and things like that. They're morons. Okay, so and they don't have real serious alternative media, and as the result, you have this mass, you have to manipulate in order to stay in power. But economic realities and things of this nature beginning to take a toll on Europe itself. We see what's happening in France, for example. So these are all indications, symptoms of their illness coming into the terminal phase, essentially. For Europe, it's over. It's done. It's Europe is not going to recover. They are poor. I mean, literally poor. They made their, standard of living and prosperity primarily on the Russian energy and American, whatever the defense, doctrine and defense expenditure, which was primarily American. So now it's pretty much over. So they have to live on what they got, and they didn't don't have much, to put it mildly. Okay. So, and that's what is this all about. And yeah, they will continue to do this. And Article 4 theater, and it's really not a theater, it's stand-up comedy. Turkey was into this Article 4 since 2003. They're like, what, 13 or 14 times they invoke Article 4. Poland does it all the time. So it's all PR noise, all kinds of hustle. They're, Chihuahuas trying to, stave off their inevitable decline and death, so that's what it is.
I think the question would be in the mind of those people in Poland, why does Russia need to come to Poland? Why does Russia need to attack Poland?
You cannot explain to average European today, you can't, that Russians live much better than they do. This is the thing which they still cannot grasp, and which, of course, is very insulting to them. They remember themselves in 70s, 80s, and even 90s, the European prosperity. Everybody is doing well. There are savings. There are all kinds of things. And now you come to them and say, well, Russians actually own more real estate than you, per capita than you ever will. Yeah, it might not be the prime real estate in many cases, like the old Soviet apartment, but Russians own them. They pay very little in terms of PUD. And of course, the Russian energy, electricity, heating, everything. And then, and you look at this and you start to explain to them, you have to take some guy from the middle of Poland. Not that Poles do not travel. Poles do travel to Russia and Belarus, and very many Poles are still retain a very significant, communications lines of communications between, in Russia open. They travel to Moscow, St. Petersburg, Ekaterinburg. So there was always, it's totally normal, to have Poles traveling to Russia, and many Russians love Poland, So it's kind of, and they see what they observe it. But for average German from Munich, for example, or some Dutch dude, let alone some French dude who still thinks that the dumpster of Paris, which stinks to heaven, and is not Paris anymore, is somehow some kind of the outstanding place, they need to be taken to Russia, and they will have the cognitive dissonance and cultural shock of their life, because they will understand that they are third world now, You have to explain it to them. And Brussels is not even Belgium anymore. The majority of population of Brussels is actually all kinds of people from all fringes, primarily Islamic fringes, so African and things of this nature. People who have nothing in common with European culture. And as a result, we see what is happening. And, what can I say? If they want to be manipulated, let them. But it looks like something is happening in France. It's going to be suppressed. French are not the French which used to go to the barricades and do all things like it's. France is done. So as is the Europe, as is Europe as a whole, and they voted for that. So I'm sorry. It's just no matter what they say. I'm so sick and tired listening to this. Like, oh no, we didn't vote for that. It was all manipulation. No, you did. You did. Simple, as the Russians did for Yeltsin in 1996. They did it. Russians knew it. And nobody said, oh, yeah, there was obviously, we know there were irregularities and everything, but Russians have been manipulated by media, by all those technologies, and Russians know. Even though there were obviously all kinds of the types of the irregularities, and some people say that, for example, Gennady Zyuganov won, but even if he won, it was by very little margin. So in this case, Russians understand we voted for what happened to us. We bear responsibility. We do not put this responsibility on some outside forces, albeit we register. We know they were present, but it was us. It was our decision. This is how responsible people act, they don't go there blaming everything constantly on the outside factors. What about yourself? What was your personal responsibility? Europeans do not want to take this responsibility. These morons in France, guess what? You offer them today again any choice, they will go and again vote for globalists who will screw them over even. The same goes for Germans, except for the Eastern Germany, which is former GDR. There are people who are still Germans who have been preserved by the Soviet Union with the German culture, albeit in the socialist type framework. So, they lost their cultures. So resign yourself, live with that. Same goes for Italians. They will continue to fall for this. That means what? They are morons. I'm sorry to say that. And that's what happened.
Andre, the escalation out of this false flag operation is somehow amazing because you see F-35, Rafale fighter jets. These are capable of carrying nuclear bombs, and
No. Let's not kind of. Oh, look, MiG-29s are capable of carrying, for example, nuclear munitions. Let's not
but they're
go
not
there.
flying over France. They're not flying over
Oh no,
Poland.
they're flying. They can fly whatever they want. You have to understand. They carry. The only country in Europe which has any kind of the standoff nuclear weapon is France. It has 300-kilometer range, supersonic missile, which can carry Rafales can carry it. F-35s, by the way, will not be able to carry it. It's for Rafale primarily, and Mirage 2000. It's nuclear. They call it bomber. It's reality. It's fighter. So, but it's French. They love to exaggerate things. But the point is, they do have it. It has, as I already stated, the range of 300 kilometers, and but obviously the rest of it, F-35 and B-61, it is what is called gravity, which means free falling bomb. Obviously, Russians take note of it, but they can move those F-35s whenever they want. You cannot penetrate and do anything with this nuclear weapon because you have to overcome, obviously, Russian air defense and Russian Air Force, which is today the best air force in the world by far. So if they think that you literally have to be in F-35, which is not really that stealth. It's all baloney marketing BS sold to all kinds of the fanboys. But reality is you literally need to, for example, you want to bomb Moscow, let's say this, with a B-61 bomb, you literally have to fly from point A to Moscow and drop the bomb. That's how it works. And that means what? It doesn't work. It's the weapon and the operational concept from 1960s and 1970s. The reality is all nuclear and mutually assured destruction thing is based not around those B-61s. It is based on the missilery, and especially intercontinental ballistic missiles. This is what really matters. And of course, some tactical or intermediate range missiles, which United States desperately tries to create in terms of what is called long-range hypersonic weapon, which is not going to happen for a long time. They were doing this since 2019. No successful. And so that has to be understood. What they do is this legerdemain. They need to move things. Yeah, impress me with Gripen. Impress Russian air defense with F-35. There are many people in Russia who would love to shoot it down, So in this case, all this, as I already stated, it's basically the it's a Wizard of Oz thing, the smoke, amplified voices. They are militarily impotent. Sweden is impotent. Norway is impotent. Poland is impotent, despite the fact that they actually have the actual army. France, Germany, they are pathetic militarily. They're paper tigers. No matter what they do, it's all about, shaking their hands in the air, chest thumping and things like that. Without United States, they are nobodies. And that has been demonstrated, apart from the fact that the United States itself was paraded as the paper tiger. It's absolutely not suited and doesn't have resources to fight real conventional war. And it lost the arms race pretty much across the conventional and nuclear spectrum. In terms of delivery systems, United States is not even in the same league as Russia. It's just not even there. It's not even funny. Russia say, sure, if you want Star 3, sure, we're ready to talk, but they're not going to get what they want. And of course, inspecting Russian delivery systems. So that's what it is. It's false flag and it's noise, but that's what the West produces primarily, noise.
Andrei, I don't know if we had something in terms of the using fighter jets capable of carrying nuclear bombs in those treaties we had before, considering long range and intermediate range missiles.
Yeah,
What, what, how do you see that? Was there anything related to the fighter jets?
no, I mean, there was a negotiation on those things, and they were, United States always actually stored their nuclear weapons, those B-61s, on the Incirlik air base in Turkey and in Ramstein, you know. So yeah, but these are not intercontinental. These are not realistically strategic weapons. They theoretically can penetrate somewhere and drop the bomb, and of course, it can create a lot of damage and destruction. But reality is primarily strategic weapons. Primarily, not only, they are about intercontinental ballistic missiles and, of course, intermediate range nuclear forces, such as another treaty which Trump abrogated during his first administration in 2019 because of the obviously stupidity and incompetence of Pentagon, CIA, and those people who said, oh yeah, you know what, we can quit because, well, Russians are backward and all that. Now they sit with their in horror, saying that in terms of intermediate ranges, as I already stated, United States not even in the same league. It's pathetic. They look like the third world with whatever the United States has in terms of intermediate range, because they have nothing like Oreshnik, they have nothing like Zircon. They see now how 500-kilometer range Iskander suddenly became 1,000 plus kilometer range, and you go over those delivery systems and actually types of the weapons, and yeah, I am on record since 2017. The arms race has been lost, and I mean it was lost by a knockout. But evidently those people in Pentagon and CIA and especially Rand know better than me. They all they know everything about it. Well, I'm being facetious. They're morons, most of them. So anyhow.
Keith Kellogg is in Ukraine talking with Zelensky. Andrei, what is the current situation with Ukraine? Because it seems that the United States is trying to put a lot of pressure, in my opinion, on Europe, because they know that Europe is receiving a lot of Russian oil. Because the plan, it seems that on the part of the administration, is to cut everything from Russia to Europe and then replace it with that from the United States, with the oil from the United States. After all, it doesn't seem that Europe can afford it if they go in that direction.
Europe is suicidal. Let it die. Europa delenda est. In the way it exists today, it has no right to exist. It's a bunch of the perverted, deviant, post-Christian, post-modernist ideologies, complete deviancy. They want to, well, I mean, they are okay with pedophilia. They're, for the most part, you saw yourself opening of the Olympic Games in Paris. It's Satanism on display. So let them freaking die. Nobody cares about them. And so when you say that it's plan, yeah, it was the plan in terms of actually make Europe poor, but poor in a such way that it still can afford, buying American weapons, American technology. Granted that, and actually it was kind of solid plan in many respects. The problem, of course, that onshore in the United States, the return of the technological industrial capacity is absolutely not what it was expected, because United States is not competitive with the volume and technological expertise anymore. Or, for example, East Asian or Chinese markets, even in India, And so what is happening now? United States doesn't get onshore; it gets some percentage of it, but I mean, order of magnitude less than they expected. But Europe is becoming absolutely poor. It will become very poor. It will become not third world, but near it, the second world poor. It's inevitable. It's already happening right now. And so this plan, what they wanted to separate Europe from Russian energy. After signing of the treaty, basically contract for a Power of Siberia 2. Now it is called Union East. Gigantic, a transfer of Russian natural gas towards China through Mongolia. It's over. So they can buy it for huge markup from Indians. And Indians, they have their, obviously, Rosneft, for example, owns number of the refineries. It built also refineries in India, and Indians gladly resell it. But the point is, Europe is done one way or another, and maybe they will try to retain some kind of degree over the years, technological expertise, such as, of course, wonderful Airbus, which is consortium. I love Airbus planes. I love them, simply wonderful product and things of this nature. But other than that, Siemens, there's a lot of things which are going there, which will be very unpleasant. And as the result, United States retains now practically the right, and it's basically it commands essentially the supply of energy to Europe. And when the United States, you're buying from us liquefied natural gas 3 times the price of Russian gas, so be it. But there is another problem for Europeans. The United States will make it available only when the United States has it available for itself, for sale abroad to Europe specifically. And as we saw, the pattern of the United States selling energy, they don't sell it to Europe if just for the sake of some kind of the civilizational unity. They sell it to Asia. They pay, they're ready to pay, and they are, they have, bunch of liquidity, so to speak, there. And and that's what it is. And Europe wanted it. So, and I'm telling you again, they will vote for it again. That doesn't matter. They will vote for it again based on all kinds of things like Macron's couple, for example. Many people admire them. They are deviants in very many respects. And France France is the exhibit A. It's over for France. It's not going to exist as the unified country or nation for that matter, probably by 2050. Some people say it's going to be 2035 to 2040, when it's basically will disintegrate. And if they go for civil war, let them, I'm not sure they have enough people, and especially military with honor and integrity, who have the pride to save their countries, respectable countries. Those militaries are a joke. So the only thing they can sell is, hatred of Russia and this BS. That's it.
Andrei, it seems today earlier I talked with Michael Hudson and Richard Wolff. What Michael Hudson said, that they're trying to make this is all about colonialism, and they're trying to make Europe as their colony.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Europe will be colony of the United States. And listen, go to my blog. I was writing about it since, I don't know, Europe is lunch. It was destined to be lunch. It was destined to be a colony. It will be shoved. They will have this, American, pretty much second-rate military equipment shoved down their throat. They will be sold as much energy as not to, it still may happen. They still may collapse with the catastrophic consequences up to the, as an example of France or Germany, complete disintegration of the countries. So, and the United States also is not really in control of it. The United States itself is not the power it thinks itself to be. It's much weaker, much smaller economically and militarily than it thinks. But yes, United States, for example, as already have been stated, they achieved through terrorism and through all other means the disengagement of Europe from Russian energy. They did achieve it. Russians admitted. That's why they transferred pretty much everything. They were ready for that since, I don't know, mid 2000s, and they transferred everything to basically to the east, to the Eurasian continental mass, which is gigantic markets, gigantic countries, gigantic populations in the need of affordable energy. So yes, Europe is not getting Russian energy. Period. It's done. It's over. There some of the contracts, and Gazprom are very diligent people. They they still provide some kind of the flow, but by 2027, when all those countries pardon me, contracts expire, it's over. Europe will be buying whatever will be offered to it, and it will be offered under the control or dispensation from the United States. And if they say you're not getting any today, that's going to be it. And yeah, they can try to build some part, develop some kind of the new things, in whatever Northern Sea. Norway has some kind of resource which are, but Russians and Americans right now discuss Arctic. This is a treasure trove of everything. Europe has nothing, and they have nothing to support their standard of living and development as they thought that they would have this development. They do not have it. They don't have resources. And as a result, that's what we have. And yes, United States already pretty much colonized Europe, but considering the outlook of the United States itself internally, and it seems like Trump understands that the United States doesn't want any kind of the real commitments of troops. They want that Europe buys American weapons, which maintain the absolutely retarded American military-industrial complex afloat for now. And because it's, as I already stated, it completely technologically, it looks backward, literally. It's just, you look at what they produce, it's just like, good Lord, man, it's just unbelievable. But they provide employment. They need to maintain their standard of living in the United States, which for now at least precludes any kind of the rioting or collapse of the society. So I'm sorry, and I'm an American. I am American citizen. You know what? We need to eat too. So between us and Europe, guess what? Guess who we choose? Us. Okay. There's no sacrifice. There is no morality in all that. It's the practical geopolitics of the final stage of the capitalism, which is financial capitalism, because it ate everything from the inside of the combined West. And so it is now who dies first. Europe dies first, period. It already happened. It's already happening.
Do you think that South Korea and Japan are heading toward the same situation that Europe is
Well,
feeling?
South Korea is dying out. They have their birth rates. It's horrifying. They're literally killing themselves. Forget about reproduction. I believe it's what, 0.9 or something like that. That's what they had demography wise. That means they simply do not want to procreate. And the same goes for Japan. So, yeah, if they want to survive and they want to change, they need to change the political system. They need to change their worldview, essentially, And that is why, for example, you have this wave of the real conservatism in Russia, for example, or very much, albeit China is a kind of different thing, but in Russia, it's about also demographics and basically reproduction, if you wish, or breeding of the nation. South Korea is down. I don't think they can even recover. They will die out in like 30 years or something like that. They're like literally, there will be nothing to. They do not procreate. They have K-pop. They have cuckolds. They emasculated everything basically. Same happened in Europe. They do, yeah, they have some kind of procreation, but it's not enough to end the game. Most of it now in statistics are people from Africa, Muslim countries, and things of this nature. So,
Yeah. Today, we had the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Lutnick, saying that if India wants to do something, they have to stop buying Russian oil.
yeah,
And
sure.
here is what 2 days ago, we had this interview of him on Fox News.
Doesn't yet want to open their market, stop buying Russian oil, right? And stop being a part of BRICS, right? They're the vowel between Russia and China. If that's who you want to be, go be it. But either support the dollar, support the United States of America, support your biggest client, who is the American consumer, or I guess you're going to pay a 50% tariff, and let's see how long this lasts.
The problem is that they can never get India the way they want to get them. They want to just force them in some sort of situation that is impossible for India. For the survival of India is impossible.
I mean, economic bloc of Trump, Latnik, Navarro, Bissonnette, they're morons. I mean, I'm sorry, they are. Anything which comes out of the economic school, so to speak, of the Ivy League, most of them are cretins, basically. They are whiteboard theoreticians, and they know how to trade bonds and treasuries and all kinds of crap on Wall Street. That's the only thing they know. They know tariffs. They still think that the United States is such, the shining thing. They do not understand it. It is a collapse of American higher education. It's complete collapse. They literally produce morons with PhDs, as Mr. famous, oh my God, H.L. Mencken stated already in 1920s. That's who they are. They are morons with PhDs. Average professor of economics in Harvard or Stanford, they have no clue about Russia. They do not understand what actual industry is. They never. These are, pampered, silver spoon cretins, basically, who got into their positions, and they basically do what? They invent shit, pardon my French. The only thing they know is how to make those bubbles and make money. And again, those are virtual money. Those are not live money supported by anything. So if Mr. Letnik thinks that he can talk to the civilization which is much older, like order of magnitude older than United States, I mean, I have a bridge to sell to him. But the point is, listen, it's already in place. The BRICS Bank, or rather Shanghai Cooperation Organization Bank, is in place now. So what are they going to do? Do they want to attack Russia? Well, let him try. Mr. Lutnik will evaporate really fast together with everything he likes in his life. Those people are cretins, basically. And that's what we, as the same H.R. Mencken stated, that at some point of time, the deep heart desires of our people will be, as our democracy is perfected, and we will have the White House adorned by the downright moron. It happened. I'm sorry. So this happened. This was prophesied. So it's the end of the political and economic system as we know it. It doesn't work. And these boys, like Lutnik or Besant, or their boys, they never experienced any real serious difficulty in life. They never had a real job. They never had real education, a degree, MBA, or it's not real education. And so, yeah, they think that they understand economy or global economy. They don't understand cultures. They don't understand practical geopolitics, which is based on the balance of power. They don't know how to calculate this balance, this power. They have no clue. In order for you to calculate this, you have to have a very serious, modern, industrial and warfare, basically background to have the grasp of it. So yeah, let them try to, manipulate India. The problem is let me put it even clearer. India is very important, but both China and Russia know that India is kind of wobbly a little bit. That's India's. It's national character. They will always be looking for the bigger, better deal. But the point is, if they want,
savvy people.
So if they want to go towards the United States, BRICS will survive in the sense that it's in the end. Come on, who were in the foundation of it? It was Russia and China, and so greatest economic power and greatest military power. So, the global South are not idiots, okay? They're pretty savvy people, they can observe things. So, what can I say?
Yeah. Andrei, here is what Donald Trump said about the change that they had with the Department of Defense to Department of War. Here is what he said.
America's warriors avenged our fallen and sent an unmistakable message to every enemy around the world. If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We'll go all over this sometimes magnificent earth. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War.
Andrei, do you know any country on this planet who has some sort of plan, or who would benefit from an attack? They're planning or they're doing something to attack the United States. Is there anything going on? Why do they have this sort of mindset? I see nobody being interested in attacking the United States. Why is
Okay,
that?
it's 9/11 today. Okay, it's a sad anniversary, and it's obviously was the most spectacular terrorist act. We will leave out of it if it was Israel or if it was CIA operation. The problem is, while definitely spectacular, many people do not understand that the world at large and as much as it saddened me, and there were 3,000 innocent victims who have been killed, by this atrocity. But many people do not understand the United States. Look at Gaza. Even for them, this small piece of land, it's nothing for them compared to what they are surviving right now, with the conducting genocide under the support, by Israel with the support of the United States. And they don't understand that the world anymore doesn't have any sympathy. Because if you look attentively at the wars the United States unleashed around the world, together with its SOB, Israel, we're talking about millions of people dead, civilians. So in this case, it's like, yeah, guys, have a measure of the scale. Yeah, there was a very spectacular, in the worst possible way, tragedy, But other than that, 3,000 people, granted, innocent Americans, and not only Americans, all kinds of people there, and millions. We know now that we have at least 60,000 killed in Gaza. 20,000 of them are children. So how this got? It's dividing 60 by 3, 20 times more people died in Gaza already than it died on that fateful day, 9/11. In America, well, it showed itself weak. That's the problem. It was so psychologically damaged by 9/11 that it never recovered. It basically smashed its own constitution, curtailed its own liberties, which were actually the most attractive thing about the United States. And what we have? It lost global war on terrorism, even with the support of Russia, for crying out loud. And it's completely discredited itself while doing this. Granted, it didn't even hunt properly, the real perpetrators. Was it bin Laden? Was it bin Laden or his org on the behalf of Mossad or on behalf of CIA? At this stage, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's the whole thing. And those U.S. journalists, and they can shove it up there behind, all those, emotional, so to speak, dedications towards 9/11. When in reality, 9/11 being a tragedy, it was global tragedy. Make no mistake, but it basically pales compared to the damage United States inflicted. And listen, I don't like Arab world, but those are people too. They didn't deserve to be slaughtered in millions, but here we are. And what can I say? It's just the way it is. There's no other way around it. United States lost that war. It was damaged, and we don't know how to repair it again.
Yeah. Andrei, Israel attacked Qatar, and the negotiations room in which they were negotiating, the Hamas leader, they attacked them, and somehow mysteriously, I don't know what has happened with that, they couldn't achieve their goals, their objectives. But how can that be translated when it comes to the West Asia? It's not about Iran. It's not about the worst enemy of the United States together
Yeah.
with Israel and all of these sort of rhetorics. Syria, no, it's Qatar. It's somehow one of the most important bases of the United States outside of the United States in the Middle East is in
Yeah.
Qatar. And they attack them. What does that mean, in your opinion, for the region?
Oh, for the region, for example, I'm not making this a secret. I have a bucket of popcorn. I would love to see Israel and Qatar, which is one of the sponsors of terrorism and supporter of ISIS, no less, and their sons of, SOBs from London, who also partly are responsible for this. Let them kill each other. I don't care. You know what? United States is a slab beach of Israel. United States is not sovereign country. It is controlled from Tel Aviv. Trump is the puppet of Netanyahu. So when you look at answer like this, so let them kill each other. A bunch of the morons, with bombs. And obviously we saw ourselves clearly that United States was on it from the get-go. No honor, no nothing. They arranged this negotiations with Hamas. Then Trump, tell Israel where the negotiations will be held, support the Israeli planes. It's just like, it's just a sewer, it's a swamp. Let them drown in it, So, and in this case, I have no sympathy for Qatar whatsoever. These people supported Chechen and international terrorism in Russia together with Turkey, by the way, since 1990s. They were the people who helped Beslan. And most likely, together with the MI6, are people behind the atrocity in Crocus City recently. So it's that's who they are. They're a terrorist state. So they wanted their, legitimacy through the World Cup 2022. They got it through corruption. And they're basically I'm not going to go the decision on the FIFA and and how Michel Platini had his hands twisted by these losers in France. They're a bunch of lowlifes. So, but the point is they're a terrorist state, and if Israel bombs them into utter submission, hey, okay, that's interesting. Let me see the videos and I'll enjoy it, if for all I care. But that's what the region is, and that's the level of the United States. United States is incapable to fight real enemy. They found their weak people, which are Arabs, very backward, very not developed, and they beat them together with Israel. This is the only thing they can, basically build. No, even at that they failed, but build their so-called reputations. And after seeing that, essentially Qatari Air Force, which by the way armed with, they have F-15s, latest versions, and they have Patriots, they did nothing because most likely it was turned off. So let them. It's a show, okay? It's beyond description. Bunch of the cretins and cowards from Pentagon, from MI6 in London, from Qatar, from Israel, trying to frame each other, it's just pathetic. Just pathetic. And so there is no honor, no integrity, no even professionalism in all that. So what can I say? Let them bomb.
But the region is learning something, at least for Iran knows that Israel would, anytime that they have the opportunity, would attack Iran.
Yeah, Iran is a different game. It's Shiite, it's ancient civilization. So it predates Islam by hell knows how long, so it's, we know that. It's Iran is not Arab world.
And Turkey as well, Andrei.
Well, Turkey,
yeah.
they're Sunnis. And as many Iranian friends correct me constantly when I say Arab, say, no, don't say Arab. And I understand where they're coming from. Sunni world. Turkey, it was prostituting itself to Israel just till recently. Erdogan doesn't care. He needs money. He loves money. Okay, so, and he is Muslim Brotherhood, which is essentially Arabic thing, that's all, took root from Egypt and things of this nature. So, yeah, let them enjoy. Hey, it is what it is. You cannot change it. You cannot change dynamics because all regimes, they are pretty much corrupt to the core, and they don't produce really anything realistically except for the self-sustainment. And the rest of it, anybody who falls for this shiny facade of this pathetic cheap Dubai, this shopping mall they made for the people with low culture, yeah, sure, all built by Western engineers and slaves from Bangladesh, India, and other places. So what can I say? They love slavery there, that's how they live there. And so they will remain in this position for a long time, So except for looks like UAE, they were always smarter. You have to give it to them. They obviously gravitate towards Russia, not because of the friendly feelings, but they are pragmatic people. They understand what is happening there. And so that is interesting dynamics there, what they will choose to do. And of course, Turkey, whatever, if they want to join Europe, let them. They will become miserable and paupers themselves, So it's simple as that, We finally have this complete multipolarity, and it's not some kind of the abstract concept. It's fait accompli, and we see the last convulsions of the combined West. With the United States having a chance to take, extricate itself out, granted, it can address its very serious political ills. And that probably will come with the new generation of the politicians. In Europe, it doesn't matter.
And the behavior of Israel is getting so much irrational that I wouldn't be surprised if I wake up and see Israel is attacking Turkey, Iran, even destroying Saudi Arabia. It's somehow it's
They're
getting a
desperate.
norm in the
They're
Middle East,
desperate.
in West Asia.
Their economy cratered. They really cratered. It's just they lost whatever this fake GDP in this index, some like third of economy. We will never know the real truth. Again, they hide all those videos and info. It still leaks. What Iran did to them. It's literally that. The damage was catastrophic. Actually, Now, if they want to try to attack Iran, this time it could be much worse. We know that the air defenses, of which I warned for years, they do not work. They cannot intercept crap, basically, unless it is old, slow ballistics. And so, they are desperate. And when they're desperate, the rat, which is cornered, it certainly can bite. Will they attack even Saudi Arabia? Who knows? They are not normal people there, and this is genocidal state, run by, on one side, the religious fanatics, and on the other side, the people who are just, war criminals. Just Nazis, the Jewish Nazis. That's who they are there. So what can I say?
Thank you so much, Andrei, for being with us today. Great pleasure, as always.
My pleasure. Anytime. Bye bye.
Bye bye.